In this lesson, we'll learn how type is measured as well as conveyed. Alright, here we are back in Photoshop. I'm using the file 07_begin, and if you have plans on being a designer, you need to understand definitely how type is measured. Now, I know what you're probably thinking. You're probably thinking, well, I already know how type is measured. It's measured in points. But do you really know how points work? Do you understand what a pica is? Well, let's break it all down so you'll understand this. Now, you know that type is measured in points. Let me go ahead and bring up this layer here. Now, let's just break down these units of measure. You know, they're really not used for much else besides type, but understanding how this translates, you'll be able to do this math on your own. This is really simple. So, 12 points of type is equal to 1 pica. Now, there are 6 picas in an inch. So, doing the math on that, you're going to understand that 72 points is equal to 1 inch. Now, you may go ahead and break out your Illustrator document or whatever application you're in. Make some type that's 72 points. Let me go ahead and just show you something I got here. And let me go see here. We got 72 point type. All right. And we'll go ahead and break out our rulers and we'll go ahead and zoom in here. And you may be thinking, well, you know what? That is not an inch tall. That capital T is just under 3/4 of an inch. Well, you need to know how type is measured from where to where. Type isn't measured by the height of the uppercase letters in a typeface. Type is measured from the lowest descender in the typeface to the highest ascender. So looking here, you can see here measuring from the ascender that's pictured here to this descender down here, we have just about an inch. So you can see how accurate that is. 72 points of type is indeed equal to 1 physical inch. Now, I tell you what, I'm going to bounce back over to Photoshop into the document we were working on here, because after you've understood the math behind how type is measured, you also need to understand how to communicate these type measurements to whoever you're talking to, whether this is somebody at a printer's office, maybe a pre-press person, or maybe even someone at a service bureau, or heck, it could be your creative director. So let me go ahead and hide this layer here, and let's go ahead and talk about how we convey type. Now, thinking about leading and kerning, we've already talked about all that. This is the way you would express the type style, Myriad Pro Bold, with 40 points of type and 60 points of leading. Now, just to give you another example, I've got here Adobe Garamond Pro Italic with 14 points of type and 18 points of leading. So anytime you see a type style followed by 2 numbers like this, that's exactly what that means. You've got your type size, 40 points, slash your leading, 60 points. Now, at this point, I would highly recommend that you get in the habit of working in points and picas in your design programs, whether it's Photoshop, whether it's InDesign, or whether it's Illustrator. Do away with your inches, rulers, your inches unit of measure. Switch over to points and picas, because the sooner you begin working with this unit of measure, the quicker you'll become used to it. So let me go ahead and just show you here in Photoshop how we can adjust these settings. I'm going to simply come up here to my ruler, and it's going to work this way for several of the applications, but there's a little bit of difference. I'm going to come up to the rulers here. If you don't have those turned on, you can come to View and Rulers, or use the keyboard shortcut Control-R. I'm going to right-click on one of the rulers. And you can see we have all the units of measure that are available to us here in Photoshop. Right now I'm set to inches. Let's go ahead and switch that over to points. And you can see that my rulers change. Now, if you want to do that through your Photoshop preferences, we can always come up here to Edit and choose Preferences, and then this is going to be off your screen, but the selection for units and rulers, and we're going to get this nice Preferences dialog, and we can switch that right here as well on our rulers, from inches to points to whatever other unit of measure we want. So let's go ahead and cancel that. We've already switched that in Photoshop, and let's take a look at another application. Let's look over at Illustrator. Alright, here we are in Illustrator, and I've got my ruler set up, and again we're working with inches. So in Illustrator, again, just like Photoshop, we can right-click on our rulers, and we can change from inches over to points. Or we can change back. Picas is also going to be an option for us in Illustrator from this dialog. So, but there's another place we can change that. When we create a new document in Illustrator, let me go File, New. Illustrator presents us with a unit of measure option, and we can actually set that right here. So we can start from the very beginning with a setting of points or picas as our unit of measure. All right, so what about InDesign? Let me go ahead and grab InDesign here, and we're going to look at the rulers and the units of measure in InDesign. So here we go. I've got a blank document open in InDesign, and I've got my rulers visible. Again, same keyboard shortcut, Control-R turns those rulers on if you don't have them visible. And let's go ahead and right-click on the ruler here. Again, you can see that we have several units of measures, actually several more options here in InDesign, but let me go ahead and switch the ruler over to points. Now, I don't know if you notice this, but only one of my two rulers change. InDesign is the only one of the three applications that will allow you to change the rulers independently by right-clicking on them here. So if I right-click on this other ruler here, notice here that it's still set to inches. Let me go ahead and change this one back to inches because I want to show you the secret to changing both the rulers at the same time here in InDesign. All you need to do is come over here to the top left-hand corner where the two rulers meet and